It's a good day to have a good day. Hello, everybody. My name's Cece Ray. Thanks for joining me here at Break the Dish, where we break the news and dish out the tea. We are recapping The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 15, Episode 13. The ladies have arrived in Italy. Oh my gosh, this villa is gorgeous. I mean, I want to go to this villa. Matter of fact, I'm with the ladies. Like, I want to live in this villa. But before we get into it, you know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here, breakers, we break the dish. We are recapping The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 15, Episode 13. The first group has already arrived in Italy. This is where we found out that Sutton has decided to share a room with Amanda, and it's like a children's room. Really, it is. There's like 2 twin beds. I mean, if I was Sutton, I would have been like, no offense, Amanda, but can I get another room, like, with a bigger bed? Dorit, Rachel, and Erika arrive, and Rachel is like, no offense to Sutton or their trip to Sedona. She's like, Babos should be president. Well, yeah, look at this place. Dorit fell to her knees, literally, when she found out that she had her own personal sauna in her bathroom. Jen and Kathy now, they are arriving. Jennifer, we find out that she likes to take naked thirst trap photos when she's on vacation. So she gets naked, she goes into the pool because the water is forgiving, and she takes pictures, which is kind of funny. When they approach, Jennifer Tilly's like, oh my gosh, it's like Downton Abbey. Then when they are showing them to their rooms, there is a door in Jennifer Tilly's room, and when you open it, it leads to this chapel that was built in the 1700s. I mean, that is nuts and beautiful. I mean, let's be real, put Erika's chapel to shame. I'm just saying. Then Sutton's bags apparently are in Germany. No, don't know what happened there. And Kyle, in her confessional, is saying that Sutton, this is where Sutton's doing the most because, she decided to room with Amanda. I don't know if she's doing the most or she's just trying to put a better leaf forward. She's trying to better herself. We know she didn't have a great season last season, so she's kind of like trying to do better. Jennifer Tilly, well, they're all getting ready for dinner, and Jennifer Tilly, I mean, she comes out with this black feathered hat, and the base of it is black, but then like the feathers all in it are all these different colors. I mean, it was incredible. And Rachel and Amanda show up in Dolce dresses with the same color patterns to them. So in Erika's confessional, she says, I want to know how Rachel felt about, twinning with Amanda there with their Dolce dresses. And then she goes, she probably burnt it. Then Stefano, who is basically the host of the house, says, we have a big surprise for you, which of course Boz had, organized. And Dorit's missing. This is not something new. This has been going on since she joined the show. Then Jennifer Tilly says to Amanda, have you had a chance to speak to Dorit? Amanda, in her confessional, says, it's like pure torture thinking about speaking to Dorit. Which is kind of funny when you think about it. You know what I mean? So Dorit finally does arrive, and the women are escorted into the Villa Bibbiani. That's the villa. Has its own theater. And we're not talking about a movie theater. We're talking about like an actual theater. It is gorgeous with these big chandeliers. Again, done in the 1700s, all hand painted. They have a pianist with these opera singers, and it was like a real treat. We also find out that Bose is the on the board of the LA Opera because she loves opera. We also find out that Jennifer Tilly's mother used to be an opera singer. And so while they're singing, she becomes emotional because she remembers her mother rehearsing with the same songs that they were singing. Meanwhile, Amanda, for some reason I'm losing my headset here. Amanda was on her phone the whole time. This is just the maturity level of Amanda. So then when they come out of the opera, Amanda says to Dorit, I'd like to speak to you. So at first Dorit's like, just give me a minute. I have to go to the ladies' room. Then she comes back out and she goes to Bose and she's like, are we going to dinner right away? Because, Amanda wants to speak to me and, I prefer to go to dinner, and then she looks at Amanda and she's like, I'd like to enjoy myself. And then after dinner, you can say whatever you have to say. And Amanda's like, okay. And Dorit's like, cool. And Sutton's like, Dorit has zero respect for Amanda. You think? But the ladies now are all sitting at, this table, they were eating outside. The table, is just set beautifully with these fresh flowers. The host explains that they make their own olive oil. So, and the food looked just divine. Really. And Rachel is saying how, Europe is where she's supposed to be. Matter of fact, in her confessional, she starts saying how her retirement plan is to retire to the south of France, to a chateau overlooking the sea. And she wants to just live in Kafkans and jewelry, and she wants to make jewelry for fun. And she wants to die in Chanel. So then, of course, I don't think the ladies even had the first bite of food in their mouths before Kyle decides to stir it up. Surprise, surprise. So Kyle says to Dorit, I saw this on page 6. I'm sure everybody might have saw it, but, did you go out to dinner with PK? And Erika goes, are you kidding me, Dorit? Like, we just flew all the way over here and you never said a word to me. And Dorit goes, look, I pulled back. I'm now picking and choosing who I want to talk to about my situation. Erika's like, she has a huge attitude about it. She's like, okay. And Sutton like mouths the word, not you. So Dorit keeps talking and she's saying, this is personal and it's sensitive and to be judged, hearing people's opinion about what she should be saying, certain people within this group, she just feels more comfortable sharing with only certain people. And Erika's like, I know you're not talking about me. Dorit's like, I talk to you freely. Erika says, I was a little insulted. Dorit says, well, how do you think I felt when I saw you hand in hand with that guy? Erika's like, no one was supposed to know about that. That was like our second date. And Dorit's like, exactly, So then Kyle says, well, it's a good sign, no? And Dorit replies, it's not about getting back together. It's not about that. It's about the kids. And now we have a consistent schedule. And Dorit feels relieved. Then in Kyle's confessional, she says, well, this is a good step to mending their relationship. And she's hoping that Dorit will be better mentally. Kyle, if you've noticed this entire season, she's really pushing this narrative about Dorit and her mental health. I mean, think about it. She has OCD. She's buying too much. She's late all the time. Something must be going on mentally. Like, you know, she's really pushing this narrative, which is really irritating. I'm just.
Hi everyone, Cece Ray here. I wanted to tell you about one of my favorite, and I do mean favorite, websites for savings. And we all love savings. It is called Morning Save, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, so see this? Now, I'm showing you this for a reason, okay? This is Dermalactives. It's a 7-in-1 LED light therapy mask. Now, you and I both know you can't find this for less than $100 anywhere, okay? I bought this for $39. Matter of fact, I bought one for my daughter too, and I bought it for $39 at Morning Save. Now, they not only just have beauty products, I mean, they have everything from fashion, home interior, organization, even sometimes cleaning supplies. But there is a catch. If you find something on that website and you don't buy it immediately, it could be gone. Just like that. Because they only have so much inventory. And when it's sold out, it's sold out. So make sure you visit Morning Save, go to the link in my description down below, and start all of your incredible saving.
So Erika says to Sutton, I'm shocked to see that the two of you, referring to Sutton and Amanda, are sharing a room. And Sutton's like, well, like I told Amanda, it's okay to have an opinion, but you really should have told Dorit. Amanda says, well, I thought, if I explained basically the who, what, where, and how, that Dorit would understand that nobody was talking bad about her. Dorit says, you don't know me. If you wanted to come from a good place, having a one-on-one conversation would have been better. But instead, all you did was put it on Kyle. And Rachel says, well, what is your opinion? Amanda says, well, what I find interesting is that everyone had the same opinion, but you're mad at me. She's talking to Dorit. And Dorit says, because all you did was agree with Kyle. Erika says, Dorit, the problem here is that she doesn't know you. And Dorit's like, exactly, that's what I was trying to say. And of course, Kyle jumps in and is like, well, that's called support. Of course, Kyle would say that because she doesn't know the word. Then Dorit says, look, if a friend says something to you once, you hear them, but then that same friend tells two people and then maybe another two people behind your back, especially people you don't know, well, it starts to feel like they're no longer looking out for you. Hi, Kyle. How are you? That wasn't directed to you or anything. Kyle says, when someone doesn't know someone, oh no, I'm sorry. It wasn't Kyle, it was Kathy. Kathy Hilton said the best line, matter of fact, out of the whole dinner. She goes, when someone doesn't know someone, you need to learn to read the room and know your place. I love it. And Erika, in her confessional, she is laughing about this. And she says, if Kathy, this beautiful, put together woman, is telling you need to read the room and know your place, baby, you are screwed. Even Jennifer Tilly was like, Kathy's basically voicing what everybody's thinking. And, Kathy's usually like the voice of reason. So if she's saying that, Amanda must have really gotten under her skin. But after Kathy says this, Amanda, this is what I'm talking about. Amanda, she then like her shoulders go forward and she's like this, and she looks like a scolded child. There's that maturity level again. So then Amanda says, well, what if I have an informed opinion? I've worked with children as a therapist. They had divorced parents. And, when they're talking about each other, it makes it hard. Rachel says she's not talking to the kids about PK. And even Natalie jumped in and said, you're not her therapist. So put it in a friendship box and not in the therapeutic box. Kyle says, well, what do you need from Amanda? She's asking Dorit. Dorit says, I don't need anything. Like, I need absolutely nothing. Amanda says, well, when you brought up the cult, what was your intention when you went back 357 blog posts that I wrote 14 years ago? Dorit says, it's called Google. And Amanda's like, it doesn't come up cult. Bose is like, oh, yes, it does. She's like, so you're trying to hide something? Amanda's like, absolutely not. Bo's like, so there's no problem. Dorit says, listen, you said you sold hundreds of thousands of books. And so I was just doing research and I came across that blog. And Rachel says, cult, like that's a serious word. Amanda says, yes, it's an environment that has to be unique, controlling, systems of reward and punishment. She says it just like that, like as if she memorized the definition. It was really weird. So then Dorit says, well, what was your experience? Amanda's like, do you want to talk about the cult like right now? Everyone's like looking at her like, yeah. And so Rachel basically says, just give us the real version. And she says, well, it's a girl growing up in the Bible Belt. It was close to the pastors. The pastors are like parents. They were moving away to start their own church and they, recruited some of the youth to go with them. And at first it was kind of like a church internship. But it slowly became controlling. She wasn't speaking to her family. She said that, when you don't have a regular language in a system that's not normal, it's hard to relate to people outside that, And she explained that, they work day jobs, but that was to support the church. And on basically their free time, they were recruiting for the church. And so one day she went to her pastor. She said she wanted to go to college. I guess that didn't go over very well. And so in the middle of the night, she ran away. Jennifer Tilly's like, that's it. That's the end of the story. She called the association that the pastor was ordained through, told them what he was doing, and that to please tell him to leave her alone. And so he did. And that was it. The end. And Amanda turns around and says to Dorit, I'm glad you brought it up. It made me have a good conversation with Erika, and it outlined my next book. So, oh boy. Then Erika says to Amanda and Sutton, she's like, how's the room situation? Amanda says, it's great. We listened to Taylor Swift while we were getting ready. Matter of fact, in Rachel's confessional, she's like, what? I mean, she just couldn't stop laughing over this. I mean, again, that maturity level. Then Sutton says, I just wanted to make sure that she was welcome here with us in Florence. Erika says, are you getting soft? Kathy says, oh, she could switch it on a dime. And Erika says, you're up to something, Sutton Brown, which is kind of funny, So the next morning, we see Kyle's going for a run. Amanda is now writing her introduction to her book. Really weird. Dorit is getting glam to go shopping. Jennifer Tilly, she cracks me up. She's in this glass elevator and she's got a face mask on. And then on top of the face mask, she's got dark sunglasses on. And the elevator comes down to the floor and she startles because she sees this like huge stuffed, like polar bear. And then she's stuck in the elevator and she can't get out. She's like, help, help. All I wanted was a cappuccino. So then Amanda and Sutton are walking outside to have breakfast. Kyle joins them. And Kyle says, how did you feel about last night? Amanda says, I'm going to be honest. The energy, it was hostile, tense. You could cut it with a knife. Sutton says, then you need to make it stop. Amanda says, the person who keeps their cool is the person in control. And then in her confessional, she says, she likes to take the time to think about what's been said, formulate her own thoughts, be clear on how she feels so that she doesn't emotionally, respond. And Sutton says, well, I would go crazy if somebody was basically telling me that they want to know about my life, but instead tell me about the culture and you weirdo, like that type of attitude. And Kyle says, do you not feel like Dorit's judging you about the cult? I mean, really, she was upset that you were judging her about the PK thing. You should tell her not to judge you. And I mean, these two are really just adding fuel to the fire. I don't even know where Sutton's coming from, to be quite honest. But when Sutton was walking away from the conversation, she was like, I'm done. Like, we're just going around in circles here because she wasn't getting anywhere with Amanda. I don't think she realized like how it was coming across, but like it really did sound like she was putting fuel to the fire. Amanda then in her confessional says, within this group, if you're not acting crazy, then you're not expressing yourself, which is completely not true. Then we see Rachel in her room and she gets a text from her youngest, Caius. And apparently his father sat him down to talk about the girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So Dorit comes in and she's explaining like a month ago, she showed up at the airport before the boys were leaving for camp when she wasn't invited. And Dorit asks, didn't you have a conversation with Roger? And Rachel's like, yeah, the conversation was about not bringing her around without my consent. That's what the conversation was. Then, after the airport, she really went after him for that. Now, the first night that Caius is with him and, Rachel's 3,000 miles away, this is what he does. He knows she's away. And Dorit in her confessional says this is like a mother's nightmare because you're thousands of miles away and all you want to do is swoop up your kids, comfort them, and make it all better. And it makes you as a mother feel like a failure. And what made it even worse is that Sky, her other son, is not at his father's. He's at his best friend's house. So Roger did this without Rachel or his brother around. So Rachel's explaining, like, forcing my kids into a situation that they are not comfortable in is probably one of the most brutal things that you could do. She says it's really disrespectful and he has no disregard for the family dynamics. And that's where the episode ends. Now, we kind of see where this is going. I don't think that conversation between Sutton, Amanda, and Kyle probably helped anything because that really put fuel to the fire. I don't understand where something was coming from, to be quite honest. I mean, I know she's trying to, you know, be friendly with Amanda, but she's also trying to uh, rebuild her relationship with Dorit. So I'm not quite sure where that's going. And we know how I feel about Kyle. I mean, it really irritates me, the whole emphasis on Dorit's mental health through this entire season is horrible. Um, and then we have agitating Amanda. Agitating Amanda. You know, she, in one hand, acts so immature. I mean, really, when you're talking to her and she doesn't like what you have to say, she pouts like a little 5-year-old. She had this 5-year-old's description of a wedding she wanted. And yet, on the other hand, at that dinner, when Dorit, she thanks Dorit for bringing the cult up, because not only did it give her a good conversation with Erika, but it outlined for her new book. Like, that's what makes everybody not like Amanda. I mean, really, she's really irritating. And so she's either sulking or she's got an attitude like that. It's bizarre. Agitating Amanda. But what do you all think? How do you think the episode went? If you could rate it, what would you rate it? I think it was a good 7 or 8, to be quite honest. I mean, it was good. There was a lot of conversation going on. So far, I mean, the trip is beautiful. But you can see where the steps are going leading up to an explosion, to be quite honest. And listen, Kyle just keeps stirring that pot, and between her stirring the pot and Amanda sulking, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to be trapped in Italy with those two. But what do you think? Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. And before you do, you know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here we break the dish.